Welcome to The Elephant. This is episode 6, and today I want to be giving an introduction to economics. My main video outline is going to be what is an economy, what makes an economy grow, what is GDP, factors that boost an economy, and signs of a weakened economy. And just to inform you guys, I won't be posting twice a week anymore, at least not consistently like I was. As you may have noticed last week, I didn't post on my Friday or Saturday on like which those days I usually post because I went out of town, and I just found that I came to the conclusion that I wouldn't really have any time to post twice a week just because school's starting and my priorities are going to be shifting. So some weeks it'll be Making of a Millionaire, and some weeks it'll be my weekly news or something such as this where it's a little bit more business oriented. So what is an economy? Investopedia says that the economy is the large set of interrelated production, consumption, and exchange activities that aid in determining how scarce resources are allocated in a country or for a period of time. So I kind of defined it as a network or system of not just you and I, but of every business that sells, consumers that buy, and the government that can distribute products in and out. An economy can also be within an entire country, such as the US, a state like New York, a city like Miami, an industry like Apple, or even within a family, such as the royal family. The economy relies on the balance of products. That means that the goods or services that are made, bought, and exchanged between everyone. What is GDP? GDP is the total monetary market value of all finished goods and services produced within a country's borders in a specific time period. So GDP stands for gross domestic product. I chopped this down into each word. So gross means the sum of something before anything is deducted or taxed. That means like the organic value of something or the original amount. Domestic is a conflict, issue, or something that happens within an economy, such as the nation, region, the family you're in, or industry. So in simple terms, the GDP is how much all of the finished goods and services made in a country are worth in total. So when you're done making your skateboard, don't think about each little thing here and there. When it's coming into production, think about what is that skateboard worth when it is done and is on the shelves. And that is kind of what the GDP means, is just a finished product. What is it worth? And what is the total of what it's being sold for? So why is this important? GDP gives a score for the economic health of a country. So GDP measures the growth rate of an economy by comparing the quarterly or yearly change and how fast the output or production occurs. So the greater the exports, such as the products being produced and sold to others but outside of the country, to the imports, so products being brought in slash bought from outside to those outside countries, the higher the GDP. So the greater the exports to the imports, the higher the GDP. Vice versa. That means that the more stuff that you sell to other countries than stuff that you buy in to your country, the higher your GDP will be. And that will determine how wealthy your economic health is. So vice versa, we can look at this on the flip side of if you're buying so much from other countries and you're not producing enough to equal that deficit, that means that you'll have a lower GDP and your economic health will worsen. Something such as getting a paycheck. If you spend more than you make, then you will have less money in your bank account and you may even go into debt. But if you make more than you spend, you'll have more money in your bank account, and you can look at your bank account as kind of being that GDP for a country. So inflation is an increased price of products or services in an economy, such as take an apple. One day, let's say it's worth $2. Let's say the next day, it's the same exact apple, same density, same volumes, same shape, same look. But that apple right there, instead of it being $2, on day 2, it is $5. That is inflation right there. Is it boosts up the cost or inflates the cost, kind of like a balloon. But note that inflation occurs when a country's GDP is high due to a high demand or a shortage in supply. So inflation isn't necessarily always a bad thing, but inflation kind of when it does occur, when the country's GDP is high, even though that's a good thing, inflation may occur because remember that the GDP measures the market value of goods and services. So if prices rise, but the production stays the same, or companies can't make fast enough for the high demand, economists account for this by using real GDP, which the real GDP adjusts for inflation. That means that if the prices rise, the real GDP will account for that. So digging deeper into GDP, trade surplus. This occurs when total services or products exported out of a country and sold to foreign countries is higher than the amount of services or products that buy from other countries. So it's kind of in the name. That means that if we sell more than we consume, we are in a trade surplus. Trade deficit, on the other hand, is the flip side or the vice versa. It occurs when what we buy from other countries is higher than the amount that we sell to countries. Remember that a high GDP is when countries sell more products and or makes more money than they are spending from other countries' products. A low GDP equals a country buys more from other countries' products or services than they end up making in their own country. So a country's GDP depends on 4 factors: consumer spending, how much people are buying in the country, either from onshore manufacturing those products or from foreign products. Government spending. How much are the governments willing to spend on not only distributing the goods throughout the country within the production of that country, or willing to trade from other countries and spend on bigger things, such as fossil fuels. Net exports. So that means that exports minus imports, that gives you your net exports, which is really what you need in order to know if you're in a trade surplus or trade deficit. Total investment. This is the resulted spending to create products inside a country. So if are you willing to go in debt in order to make more money out of it? Such as, are you willing to go into college debt so that when you graduate and get a 200K salary per year, are you willing to be in debt for a higher return? That's kind of what a government spending kind of does. So overall, people look at GDP to measure the products and services that a country makes within a year. Factors that boost the economy. This can be tech innovations, a healthy demand for labor, legal migration, an abundance of natural resources, trade, economic freedom, growth to society and education, innovation, high GDP, stability and inflation, interest rates and currency, and capitalism. What weakens an economy, on the other hand? This can be a slow growth in GDP or high unemployment, resulting in no major economic growth, and this can be referred to as a sluggish economy. A sluggish economy is it's not an actual word. People don't necessarily, it's not in the dictionary. It's kind of more of what it deems to be. Like a slug moves very slowly, and if your economy is very slow, there's not much growth happening in terms of innovation is not taking place as fast. So typically a sluggish economy is the aftermath of a recession. So recession happens and then a sluggish economy occurs. And a recession is a negative GDP. That means that you are in a trade deficit or that you are buying more than you're consuming. That means more products are going into your country than out of your country. And something such as recession and a sluggish economy, this can weaken an economy by producing or by resulting in high unemployment, high inflation, weak productivity or tech growth, government debt, and referring back to page 7, you can tell that if you look at any of these, just think about the flip side. So, what is the opposite of tech innovations? No tech is being produced. A healthy demand for labor, either high unemployment or there are a scarcity in jobs. Legal migration, that means illegal immigration. Abundance of natural resources, that means a lack of natural resources. Trade, that means no trade. Economic freedom, there is no economic freedom. It's a socialistic society. Growth to society and education. Education is weakening and society is getting worse. Innovation, nothing is taking place. High GDP, low GDP. Stability, inflation, interest rates, and currency. That means that it's going all cattywampus in terms of inflation is up and down a lot. There is uncertainty. Interest rates are high. Currency, the dollar either becomes something that is super duper valuable to people, or the dollar becomes something that is worth nothing. And people who have saved, that money means half of what it is in that economy now. Capitalism, socialism. So, lack of consumer spending and high interest rates. Realize that recessions are bad, but essential to what is known as a business cycle. A cycle of expansion and contraction that economies undergo over time. It is inevitable. And whatever goes up must come down. That's Newton's third law. That means that whenever there's a peak, usually in society, there's always going to be what is known as a recession. And hopefully, it doesn't get to that point of depression. But when it does, only way to go back up. The only way to go is up. So, taking a look at that business cycle, you can tell that it is just this peak right here, and then this right here is just your baseline right here. And if you were right here and just kind of slowly moving forwards, that would be called a sluggish economy. But right here is known as just economic wealth and a high GDP, low GDP, zero innovation. Then it goes back up into expansion. The more we can keep getting it to build mountains instead of valleys and create peaks instead of troughs and depressions, the wealthier and better an economy will be. So that is lesson 1 of economics. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you found value out of it, consider subscribing and liking. And I hope you stay tuned for next week's video.